it's life. There are a lot of uncertainties. If a big one hits, it can be a 6-digit event, and if we are not prepared, then it's going to really cause financial ruin. The first thing that we need to do in managing our wealth is to make sure we have the foundation right. Foundation is built from the base. Like building a house, the piling is very important. So we must ensure that the foundation is built correctly, so that the events that unexpected events that can leave us in financial ruins can be minimized and can be avoided if possible.
The most important point that you need to know is that you can't budget your way out of poverty, and you can't invest your way out of financial hardship. Cost of living it's going to keep rising up. Emergencies might happen. You just never want to put yourself in the position where you are at a whim of one major emergency away to just financial ruin. I use an app. I'm a big fan of apps, and it's called Money Lover. So it looks something like this. It's a bit link like that. But basically, after every time I spend money, I would include it in and put in how much, what time. I put a little bit of notes in. I enjoy doing it for many reasons. I like seeing patterns inside my data and spending. However, there are people who just can't, even after multiple tries, they can't go into it. So I just tell them, okay, this doesn't fit into your whole budgeting strategy. It is enough that you just automate your savings, automate your investments, and just go about your day.
During the pandemic, we try to keep everything as normal as possible. Look at everything rationally, logically, and try to maintain everything as normal as possible. Where you can, try your best to keep it, maybe prorate it according to your normal expenses, spendings, and allocations where possible.
It is a good idea for everyone to start thinking of what would be a budget for me to splurge on. Like, what is the maximum that I can splurge on in a month? If you're not putting an allocation where you could splurge, just even a tiny bit, maybe 20 ringgit, you're just gonna binge afterwards.
There are 4 main areas that can cause a big hole in the pocket, and it's very uncertain. The first one is life, death and disabilities. Okay, the second one would be critical illnesses. You never know when one of these happens. And then the third one is hospitalization and surgery. If it gets bad enough, you need to get to a hospital. And fourth would be accidents. Accidents is and it can happen to anybody.
I would also let people, the audience, know that there's this thing called PIDM, which protects and insures your deposits and also your insurance. So it is the number one thing that you need to look for when you need to look for savings account or insurance companies. You have to make sure that they are PIDM protected.
A lot of people tend to be overly optimistic and short-sighted. We are too drawn into instant gratification, and a lot of people will tell me that when we talk about the things like what if you get sick and things like that, they will just brush it out and say that it won't happen to me, but and it will happen to the guy next door. It always happens to the guy next door. But the thing is, we forget that we are also somebody's neighbor. One is whereby you accumulate enough for the asset to generate interest, which can sustain your living expenses in retirement years, or you accumulate enough assets whereby when you attain retirement, you can liquidate all of them, and then slowly use them, utilize them as you go. At the end of the day, when we are old and we are retired, we would wish to leave assets behind for our family members, for our loved ones, instead of liabilities. So one of the instruments that we propagate is to have a life policy whereby you only need to set aside a very small fraction, say about 2 to 5%, to create 100% of what you wish to leave behind.
I think at this point, it is imperative for you to look at how you can package your skills into something that you can sell.
Our ability to generate income, to continue generating income is there. You see, look at Tun Mahathir. He's 90 over years old and he's still can be a prime minister. Who can be busier than a prime minister? I like to encourage the seniors to continue being productive, continue accumulating your wealth.
And there are a bunch of strategies that are available out there, a ton of resources out there about positioning yourself, positioning your brand identity, your based on your work experience, based on your skill set, in order for you to generate enough income for you to already generate more money coming in than money going out, even beyond your retirement years.
Diversification is definitely the pillar of investment. We started putting money into EPF, which was mandatory anyways, and then FD was my favorite tool at one point. And then and slowly as we began to accumulate a little bit more, and I feel that okay, maybe this is something I can afford to experiment with. So it was a bit of stocks, a bit of property, and then you slowly learn to understand what these assets are and how do they work.
If you have had that 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund, if you're putting your money only in your savings account, you're losing out a little bit. It is time for you to start exploring investments.
At the end of the day, the biggest lesson that I took away was always do your own due diligence. Because when it comes to the market, there are a lot of naysayers and a lot of people with all kinds of rumors out there.
This is taking into account you've paid off all of our high interest debt, you don't have any more credit card debt, you don't have any more personal loan, you have money socked away for emergencies. This is money aside from that. The most practical would be things like private retirement scheme, just for the simple fact that you can get tax relief or tax rebate, one of those. I would actually kind of like break it down into a little bit of chunks. I would perhaps put 50% in something practical to get the tax relief, and then maybe like break that down even further, maybe like 10% to put into crypto, 10% to put into stocks, 10% to put into various robo-advisory platforms. Some of them you only need maybe like 100 ringgit to start. So I really do believe in skin in the game. If you don't try out a certain platform, you will never know the interface, you will never know the emotions that you will go through as an investor.
You remember that foundation I was telling you guys about? Yeah. I will use 30% of it to set up that foundation. And then from there, the other 70%, I will invest it in in the instruments that I am comfortable with. Perhaps unit trust. I think I agree with Suraya. PRS unit trust of this kind of nature to start with. But I think it's also important for us to get the right advisors who are able to guide us and give us the right information for these assets.